tell me who starts to log in.
One person.
You can tell me if you start to. Hello everyone, how's everybody doing? Just getting my beautiful model, my wife, all sectioned out and ready to go. And my son, Justice, 17 years old, he is recording. Say hello to Justice. I want to know who of my friends, hair friends from around the world, are online right now. Please say hello. See a show of hands. Anybody saying hello?
Got a lot of people so far, 8 people.
Alright. So this is pretty cool because, talk about an intimate class. You are in my living room with my wife, with my son, and my dog. You want to show Mochi off? Get close up. So this is Mochi. We took him on a long walk earlier. He's very happy. And this is my wife, Marissa.
Hi.
And this is my first live class. So, it's going to be a fun adventure. We are lucky enough to have the sun come out today. It's a beautiful day. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super grateful for whenever that sun comes out. It seems extra special lately. And we're going to be going live with this haircut in probably like 3 to 4 minutes once everybody logs in. So right now I'm just getting the hair organized, nicely groomed, and ready to go, and then we'll get into the haircut. Anybody saying hello?
Adorable pup.
He's always everybody always loves a beautiful dog.
Hi, Rachel.
So if you guys have any questions, please say hello. Marissa has her phone in her lap here, and she's going to be answering or asking any of the questions that you guys ask. And this class is all about you guys, so we want to interact with you. Anything about hair, anything about the salon world, even if you have like fun personal questions, you just want to interact, we love to hear from you. When I teach live in another way with real people, I draw a lot of the crowd. So just like this moment, it'd be cool to hear from you guys. I'm going to show you what I'm doing back here.
Todd says hi.
Todd who? Todd Allen. What's up, Todd? How you doing? Where do you live, Todd?
Joined.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Hi, Ott. What I really want to know is who of my other hair friends are out there. Got my in-laws online. I bet you guys are kind of excited to see what we have in store for you.
Todd's in Boise.
All right.
Hi, Darcy.
Just out of curiosity, I'm curious to see where people are situated. So do I have anybody, I'm sure people from all around the North America, but also I want to know if anybody's international. Is there anybody watching on an international front?
Patty.
Patty's on here? That's awesome. Hi, Patty. I'm going to have you uncross your legs. Move your head forward just a little bit. All right, guys, what time is it?
2:05.
You guys ready to get started? First of all, do you guys like to talk about color?
Ivana's from Croatia, by the way.
Oh. Got Ivana from the ZGAT team.
France.
Awesome. All the way from Croatia. Justice was just mentioning, my son here, that he wants to go to Croatia. Remember the spots that you wanted to see?
Plitvice Falls, I think is what it's called.
Hey, Vanna, have you ever heard of that? Do you know what he's talking about? It's beautiful falls that he was looking up, and he was just telling me he wants to go to Croatia to see them.
It's like a fall that turns into a lake, and then like it's kind of like Blue Pool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys, just starting to get into the haircut. We have her parted out right at the occipital bone, right to mid-ear, horizontal parting. I'm going to take you over to my head sheet here. We're going to start from here down. We're going to take diagonal back sections, and I'm going to start on that left side here. So Justice, I'm going to have you come over here.
All right.
So we're going to do diagonal back sections. I'm going to pull the hair just down like this. When the hair is wet enough, it will just stay. And this is really going to suck in this shape. So I'm going to keep the tips of my fingers to her neckline. I'm going to add some graduation, cutting to the second knuckle, and recomb and cut. All right, so just out of curiosity, the reason I started at this spot is that I know that I want this shape actually to be really sucked in here at the nape, but I also know that I want the shape to actually get quite a bit shorter towards the front. So that's why I didn't start in the center back, so this will really suck it in here, so I can leave a little bit. This will be shorter, but I'm not trying to do like a really elongated A-line bob or anything. So I really wanted this right behind her ear to really be sucked in, really close to her head shape. All right. Continue with diagonal back sections. I'm pulling out at a 45-degree angle, just for a little bit of graduation. Over directing to that previous section, pivoting out. You can see my section really clearly there. Any questions?
Adam says looking good, my friend, nice and clean.
Thank you, Adam. Next diagonal back section. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go just lightly past center. And with Marissa here, we've been growing her hair out a little bit. So what I really wanted to do, she was kind of laughing because when she runs, she wears kind of like these little trucker hats. And she had a nice little mullet that was a little mullet action that was coming out the back. We were laughing at that when she was like, I desperately need a haircut, please. And so this was perfect timing for us, for her. So can you guys see with her hair color, we have her bleached out all over. I colored about 3 to 4 days ago. I used the Pulp Riot with 40 volume right at her roots. And then what we did is we pulled it through the ends just a little bit to just even out the porosity so that the toner would take evenly from roots to ends. And then I used Redken's 9AA, or actually it was not AA, it was VV, which is just violet. We left that on her roots with 10 volume for 20 minutes. And then I pulled it through her ends for about 5. And so she has almost like this violet shadow root, but it's very dusty. It's very subtle, but it's also very cool. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have her put her head down. Just going to lightly comb the hair down, like what I'm seeing. I'm going to start on the opposite side, and this is where I'm going to check for balance from side to side. All right, how's everybody doing?
Whitney says, did I miss what the cut will be in the end? It helps me understand what the end result will be.
All right, great question. When is it Whitney?
Whitney.
Wendy or Whitney?
Whitney.
All right. All right, so diagonal back sections here. Justice, help you get from this side.
All right.
All right, so the end result, that's a great question. This will be a cute, fun, razored pixie. So there's gonna be a little bit of 2 different things happening here. In the back, it's gonna be very groomed, very precise. And towards the front, it's going to have a little bit of a soft, more razored version, almost like a pixie shag. But it's going to be very groomed, very precise towards the back. I'm going to just take this a touch shorter because I'm looking for balance from side to side. We're on the right side now. Just tucking that in just a little bit more. Notice that my finger angle has changed. So on the left side, I was like this. On the right side, I was like this. So sometimes people ask, and it's all about ergonomics. So this for me is very comfortable. I don't have to contort my body at all. Could you imagine me doing this? So Justice, I'm gonna have you get away from me a little bit. So look at my body. So right here, super comfortable, I'm upright, I'm not contorting my body. So if I was to use that same angle on the opposite side, what I would have to do is do this, which is really, I can feel my hip, I can feel my back. There's a lot of kinking and stuff that's happening. So this is very comfortable because I'm able to utilize my body and work really comfortably, which is really important. So I'm going to check for balance from side to side. That's perfect, right? I'm going to go down again. All right, so now I'm going to start working through the section again. Diagonal back sections. I'm over directing towards the previous section. So, Justice, I want you to get to where you can see where I see. So right here. So you can see that as a guide, taking that in, just sucking that in, just cutting to that second knuckle.
Tony says nice hat.
Well, thank you, Tony. So I'd love to hear from you guys. How's everybody doing out there? Everybody staying afloat? Anybody getting stir crazy? I don't know about you. I made a kind of a funny video of my dog the other day because I think he's been on more walks this last like two or 3 weeks than he has his whole life, which is pretty funny. Staying really consistent. So since we're overlapping, what's going to end up happening is that we're going to start losing hair once we get down to the nape, which is a pretty normal thing. So once we get down here, past that center back, you're going to start seeing that overlap.
Brazil and Argentina.
All right. International guys, so we have Croatia, we have Argentina, and Brazil. Got some South American friends.
Veronica says she's given her dog more baths this March than he's had in his whole life.
That's really great. So what have you guys been doing to occupy your time other than going on live and watching some hair cutting? So I want to make sure that the equal balance with the moisture. What I would like to do, when the hair is wet like this, what I'd like to do is just make sure there's balance, make sure there's refinement, and what I'll see too, like what I'm seeing there, is I'll get the basic perimeter line in, but I'm not looking for perfection, I'm looking for just the basic shape. So just get right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting. So I'm going to use my comb as a base. I'm going to be pushing that so it's really hugging her skin. I'm just going to go in here. Like I said, this is not going to be a finished cut, but it's going to be about like 80 to 95% the way I like it. So I pull that down, and that's the shape I'm going for. All right, let's talk about necklines real quick, guys. So in a shape like this, because you have the vertical shape, which is triangular or graduated. The horizontal shape is what you see. If you're looking from like a bird's eye view perspective, and what I see with this is I want this to be very head hugging, so it's very round. So though it's graduated, I'm not extending this out, I'm not keeping any corners. I'm having this very head hugging. So the horizontal shape is very round and head hugging, just like this. If it wasn't, this would get thicker and this would be more square. And if I think about like with Marissa, she has a very petite frame, and so her neck is very petite. So if I put something very blocky on here, what it does is it makes it look kind of more square, more like heavy, bulky, and she's very kind of more petite. So I wanted to do something that's very complementary towards that. So I'm looking at the one side, drawing that out. I'm going to start on this, just working my way over. I'm going to look for visual balance in the back. I don't want to go for perfection right now. So that's kind of where I want it to go. After I've done the wrap drying and kind of blow dry, I will refine that shape. So I don't want to focus on that too much. It's exactly where I want it to be right now. So cross-checking, just a light refinement there. Neat story about my journey and what a pleasure it is to be on the Federico Advanced live page right now is that as one that teaches quite a bit, I really got my start in and through Federico Advanced in the aspect of like just very high quality teaching. The first class I ever took was with Zigat, and what was pretty cool is that Ivana is on here right now. I'm not sure if Mario is on here. If you aren't here, Mario, say hello. I'd love to hear from you. But I remember their class was very, very eye-opening, very incredible class. And it was like one of those moments where I realized that in America, a lot of our teaching, we do a lot of like tips and tricks and a lot of show, but in other parts of the world, like all the way through Europe and Germany and Croatia and other parts, the level of teaching is very, very high-end and very technical. So Adam has made it his passion to bring the best educators in the world to his advanced academy in Sacramento. So I have had the pleasure of seeing Palmer and Company, who Dove has become a close friend of mine. I've seen Jay Mahmood. I've seen just quite a few just incredible world-class educators, and it has so encouraged my own craft here to do what I do, to create what I create, and be able to travel the world also and teach. So grateful for that opportunities. If you haven't got a chance to head over to Sacramento, I'd highly encourage it. So let's talk about sectioning. I think sectioning is really big. It's really big because, let's go through the head sheet real quick. So in my mind's eye, I draw out what I want to create. I think when it comes to women's short hair, a lot of times we don't have very clear vision. And I know a lot of my stylists don't like to cut women's short hair because what they end up doing is doing 3 or 4 haircuts because they don't want to like commit to a shape. So they end up cutting it shorter and shorter and shorter. By the time they're done, they're exhausted. So being really clear about what you're creating. Right now, we're above the occipital bone. What we're doing is we're gonna take that graduation and we're gonna go up and do this really nice flat layer, but we're not going to elevate above the apex of the head. This builds up some weight, but it's a very soft buildup of weight. So it's a very salon-friendly, very user-friendly. So there's not gonna be, all right, Justice, help you come back here. So whenever I think of sectioning, I always think about control. And this helps me manage the control of the shape that I'm creating. So, looking at here, so this is the shape that we're creating. So I'm going to go from where that graduation ends. I'm going to slightly go up the head, not quite at 90 degrees, but it's going to be more of that flat layer. So I'm going to take a vertical section right in the center middle. One of the cool things I learned from my friend, Jay Mahmood, is to keep it clean, keep the hair groomed. The reason we section like this is at this moment, the only thing I'm focused on is right here. And I know that my guide is coming from under here. I'm taking the fine tooth of the comb, bring that right around here. Bring that directly off the head shape. And what I can see, come from the side here, Justice. I can see that's where my guide is. And so this is just going to be a little bit of a dusting. So this section is completely done. I'm gonna take half of this section, and like I just said before, I want this to be more head hugging. So the horizontal shape is really going to be round. I'm not extending that out on the corners. I'm not trying to preserve those corners because I want that to suck really close behind her ear. So now, once again, taking half of the last section, taking half of the new section. My guide is coming from two different places now. It's coming from below, right there. And I also can see my previously cut section. So I don't know about you guys, but when I'm behind the chair, the more guides, the better, because you know you're watching people come through the door, you're having 3 conversations, you haven't eaten for 4 hours, you know, you have to use the bathroom. And so there's a lot of things going on. You're a lot of multitasking, a lot of ways to get distracted. And whenever we get distracted, we can lose focus of where we're at and what we're creating. I don't know about you guys, but I own a salon here in Eugene, Oregon called Moss Hair Studio. We actually hit 10 years on February 3rd, which was really awesome. And now our goal, I don't know, has anybody been hit with these times? You guys, everybody surviving? What our goal is to really serve the styles that work for us, and also just try to make things bare bones as possible so we can survive. I've had a lot of conversations with salon owners as of late, and we're all doing what we can, but we're all in this together, right? I want to hear from you guys. Is everybody surviving out there? If you're surviving, give me a wave. Ask me a question.
Whitney says congrats on 10 years.
Oh, thank you. I've said it before, I have 3 boys myself. Like, for those that had came in a little bit later, Justice is the one that is recording right now. He is my 17-year-old son, and I've actually compared owning a hair salon to having a child, because there's a mystery to owning a hair salon where, as it's one of its owners, I own it with some two dear friends of mine, Renee and DJ, but as you watch it grow and mature, it takes on an entity of its own, a life of its own, and it reminds me so much of honoring what it's becoming more like organically outside of me. Like, I'm a part of like giving it guidance, but it also has an energy and a life of its own. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's kind of this wonderful mystery of watching a salon kind of like evolve and grow, and like the team that's there. It's kind of a powerful thing. So staying just really clean. I'm staying on base. I'm taking it directly off the head shape, following that guide from down below and the guide that's traveling with me. Do you have any questions about the shape? This is kind of something fun I do to kind of keep myself on balance. I feel like there's a flow with hair cutting. And my last section before I get over the ear. And watch this, I have my hands down below, that's actually touching Marissa, and then I'm gonna pivot out. It kind of helps me to keep that similar angle. Pivot out. See that?
Daniel says, are you layering now, graduating toward the top, or a little bit of both following the head shape?
All right, this is where the technical aspect of hair cutting is really interesting. So angles and percentages of angles all come from where the hair is coming from. So for example, if I was to touch the head and the hair was to come out at a 90-degree angle, I know I was layering. Anything lower than 90 degrees is graduation. So because I'm keeping the elevation lower, I'm actually still building up weight. I'm just building up a softer amount of weight or a softer amount of graduation. So it kind of looks like I'm layering, but I'm still building up a weight, so technically I'm graduating the hair.
Whitney says, can you show that angle cutting from behind the head with the last section?
Absolutely. So are you talking about this section right here, Whitney? Did she answer? There is a little bit of a delay, guys, just so you know. So I wanted to ask Whitney if she's talking about right here, because I'm going to do the whole left side of the head next, so she'll be able to see. So until we hear from Whitney, we're going to keep on moving on.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll take you back here. So we're told a lot, guys, that we need to over direct back, over direct back, over direct back, so you don't create a hole. But that's only if you're creating a shape that's going to have a hole. So right here, because I'm going to have this be really head hugging, I'm going to bring this right here, so it's not going to create the hole. I actually want to suck this up, so there's not this bulbous area right back here. So what I'm doing is I'm not over directing, very intentionally, because of the shape I'm wanting to create. All right, so right here, when I was talking about that pivot, so that's the angle. So I'll lightly refine that shape. So what you'll see is this light, see right here, light buildup of weight. Because it's a softer buildup of weight, I consider this a very salon-friendly haircut. And also at home, it's going to be very easy for Marissa to do it herself. So one of the interesting things about working in somewhere like Eugene is that a lot of my clients, they need their hair to almost do itself. They're not spending an ample amount of time on their hair, and people want to look good, but they don't want to spend the time to look good. I know whenever I go to California, people are very put together, they're very polished, and they spend a lot of time going to blow-up bars and such. But that is not the culture of Eugene. But people want to look put together. They want to look sharp. All right, guys, so for example, see how this is lower? It's not going past the apex of the head. 90 degrees would be way up here. That's where I'd be layering it. So because I'm keeping the elevation low, it's building up a weight. That makes sense, everyone? Oh, yeah. Do you guys like this color? Can you see the color so far? You can see that there's a very soft shadow root. What are you hearing? Are your friends on here? What do they say?
Does Marissa get to do her hair herself?
People always want to know. So the funny thing is, like, if I was a plumber, would I always be doing like my own plumbing all the time at my own house? I know a lot of friends that have like contractors for husbands, yet they're barely ever getting, you know, their own things done at their house. But with Marissa, she gets treated pretty well. All right, guys, so you can see my guide right here, staying, there's no over direction, just keeping that really on base. Keeping that elevation really consistent. Consistently taking half of that last section. What's nice about sectioning like this is that when I'm done with this section, the rest of the haircut will actually go pretty quickly, which is wonderful. So it really keeps me organized. A lot of times when I teach classes, people, you can see my guide right here, can say, like, with precision cutting, doesn't it take a lot longer? And if you're really clear about what you're creating and the intentionality behind it, it actually is way more time effective. It's been kind of fun to see a lot of my hair friends, other educators, just people uniting in this time. I don't know about you guys, but it's been kind of cool to see so much online education that's been offered, and people from all around the world. It's almost like an act of service that we're just like reaching out and staying connected and adjusting to these times, adjusting to this new normal, right?
Stephen Adams says, what up, buddy? Sure
Hey,
does
Steven.
make sense. You are doing a great job.
Thank you, Steven. Get a little bit of line around the section. You know, what other chance would you have to be in my living room watching a live hair cutting video? You know, it's pretty rare, but something that's changing with the times. You can clearly see my guide. So a lot of times in hair cutting, you're told not to cut past the second knuckle. And if I was to ask that question to a live class, typically the number one reason we're told in beauty school not to cut past the second knuckle is why. Someone online is going to answer that question. Anybody? Why do we not cut past the second knuckle? I like that Rachel's on here, pulling you up.
Adam says tension changes.
See, he's going to answer it in like the more mature way.
Chris says not to cut yourself.
Yes, okay, so what we're told in beauty school, thank you Adam for the actual correct answer. All right guys, Justice, I'll have you towards me. Actually, go towards the light.
All right.
All right, so look at my hand. And what you can do is you can see that I have a gap right here, right? So if this has tension, 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 all of a sudden there's a gap, this has equal tension, and right as the moment it hits that gap, you lose tension or it's really inconsistent. So one of the key reasons I would say not to cut past the second knuckle is it really changes the tension, as Adam said. All right, so I'm just gonna have the hair nicely groomed. Part of what I like to teach is really training the eye. I can see that really soft buildup of weight. I really like that there's a very fluid shape going on here. And notice that there's this nice pie section. It's starting out right at one of her natural growth sections. I'm just looking what I'm seeing. Nice balanced shape. All right, guys. Woo, we did it. We're looking good. All right, we're gonna go to the right side of the head. Now we're gonna switch it up. Okay, so this is gonna be really groomed, very precise, nice shape, it's gonna suck in, it's really gonna show off her jawline. And now what I wanna do is kind of switch it up, both with the type of cutting I'm doing and some of the angles. Sorry for getting you some of the lights here. So if we look at our diagram real quick, back up here, Justice. So we're on the right side of the head. We're gonna take diagonal back sections. We're gonna over direct those back. We're gonna use that previously cut section in the back as a guide, and we're gonna start notch cutting into that. So we're gonna do this in 2 or 3 sections. So now going towards the head shape. Here. Starting from this point up here, I'm taking a diagonal forward section, really cleanly, pulling that back. And some of this stuff is not going to reach. So I'm going to follow this back. So boom, I'm just going to lightly notch into there. Because the reason I'm notching is because what I'm trying to do is, one, we're trying to grow out her hair. And I think growing out short hair is actually really fun, and I think it should be a really enjoyable experience. So to see if this even reaches, there's a chance this is not going to reach. So over directing that back to the previously cut section, pulling that back, just a dusting. Little trick of the trade. Notice as I'm notching, I'm not worried about cutting myself because I'm actually using this finger as a base. So I can rest this shear on that finger and just lightly notch up into that. So just checking, yep, that section is done. So keeping that nice and groomed. And Marissa's gonna be very happy because we are growing that out.
Daniel says, is this going to be one of those Karen wants to speak to the manager haircuts?
How do you know?
In the morning.
Who's Daniel? What's Daniel's last name? Diaz. All right, mimicking what we did from the other section, taking a diagonal forward section, pulling that back, grabbing my scissors. I'll take heavy scoot back just a little bit, Justice.
Veronica wants to know if she'll be able to see it when you've dried and styled it.
That's the goal for today. How are we looking for time, guys? My goal was to keep this about less than an hour would be my goal. So we're doing great. When I posted about cutting Marissa's hair, one of my hair friends, I think it's a little snippy, I don't know her real name. She says, "You're so lucky to have a beautiful wife with cool short hair." I have to concur. All right, so that section is done. All right, guys, so before we go any further, what I'm going to do is, I know I want this to lay kind of more, a little bit more free, and I don't want to build up too much weight, and I want it to be kind of like playful, especially as we're getting up here, we're gonna add a lot more texture. So what I'm going to do is take my razor, which I'm gonna grab right here, feather blade. I'm gonna with the hair just a little bit. All right, whenever you think about texturizing, I just really want to stay very, very consistent. Whenever I'm using the razor, I'm not wanting to overlap sections, so each section is about a little less than a ½ inch in thickness. And what I want to do is bring that out of the way and pull it over here. And I'm going to stay really consistent. So get from the side perspective. With lots of tension, I'm skipping the first section. I'm going to go in there and just chew out a little bit, chew a little bit. So what I'm doing is just creating a little airiness in the shape. I'm going to comb that out of the way, and that section is done. So this actually goes quite quick. Go again. Just removing just a little bit of that weight, just to make it a little bit more playful. Marissa has quite a bit of natural texture in the back here, so it'll kind of awaken some of that too, which is really fun. Always going 90 degrees off the head shape, being super consistent like we said. So if you want to visualize something, what I want you to visualize is a pine tree. So a pine tree starts up here and it goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out. So what you're doing is you're creating a little bit of airiness in the shape, and it just creates a little bit of movement, a little bit of fun, a little bit of play. And I know from years of doing this behind the chair that these are the types of things that my clients absolutely love, because without even having to style the hair very much, the hair will have a lot of play and a lot of fun without having to force it. Any questions out there? I'm actually going to take this all the way to the front also. So we continue with vertical shape, vertical sections I mean. Skipping that first section, just going there, rock that out. And I'm going to over direct all this into one section, because I know I want to preserve that length in the front. And to answer Daniel's question, my wife would kill me if I gave her the Karen cut. So I have to admit that I was up kind of late last night watching not the Lion King. What's it called? The Tiger King, right? Is that right, Marissa?
It is.
It is. Marissa's a little bit jealous because we started it together and then I took off with the show without.
On me.
Anybody else watching the Tiger King out there?
Watch the live video. My bad. Wait, you're about to see it.
All right, so just working around the head shape, staying at 90 degrees, thinking of that pine tree, just working out some textures. What did you do?
I accidentally made it go back. Selfie mode for
Oh, you
like
did?
0.5 seconds. 0.5 seconds.
And just like the other side, I'm going to over direct this last section all together because I'm trying to preserve length in the front.
Rachel says, how could you watch it without me? Good question, Rachel. This isn't the first time.
All right, so I like what I'm seeing so far, guys. Working through the shape. Sometimes we'll just play with the hair a little bit to see how it's responding. I really like how it sucks down. I like how what I'm seeing here, just like these little bits of play. And now we're gonna work our way to the top. So notice that I have made, so Justice, I'm gonna show from the top.
Like
It's
this?
really nice horseshoe section. All right, with short hair, one of the pivotal things is to really consider hair texture, density, and also growth patterns. So the shorter the hair, the more imperative it is to really pay attention to growth patterns, because the shorter the hair is, the more they come into play. They can really cause us, sorry bud, some struggle if we're not careful, if we're not cognizant of paying attention to them. So notice how nicely groomed the hair is. Something I learned at the ZGAT class was actually when I do a horseshoe section to comb the hair forward rather than comb the hair back. So it's those simple things that can become game changers. But with really good grooming of the hair, it really keeps it organized. And I think it's a thing of beauty when it's done well. All right, so I'm going to start. So that's about 4.5. So the shape I'm going to go for up here is just going to be nice and round. So I'm going to start in the back, right at her crown. Once again, we were trying to grow this out, so I'm just going to do a little bit. Just going to go in there and just do a little bit of notch cutting with having your hair be so chemically processed. I'm very careful not to overlap the color too much. And also, it's just gonna mean that you have to do some maintenance with the ends because it can kind of get a little bit of damage. With some of my clients, I say that they need a little bit of damage. Call it healthy damage, because a little bit of damage helps the hair to play and do other things that it typically wouldn't. So notice that I'm kind of arcing that around to keep more of that soft round shape as I go towards the front. All right, so having her hair leading down. So what I'm going to do, so I have a center parting, going back here to our head sheet. So up here you're going to have a pivot point where you have your center guide, and I'm going to pivot off of that point and go towards the left and then to the right. So now going back up here, we do a nice center parting. I'm keeping half of that section. And I'm going to start at that pivot point, and I'm going to work my way down to a pie section. I'm going to start in the back, pinching a little bit of that hair. Draw that up. And just a little bit of hair, just a little bit of dusting. Like I said, we're just trying to grow this hair out. A little bit of corn there. Trying that pivot point again, taking half of that last section. Pulling this directly off the head. See my guide right here, just going in and just doing a little bit of notch cutting. joined, that has recently just joined, wondering what we're doing. So, in a lot of ways, we're growing out very much a pixie cut. We did a beautiful violet shadow root on Marissa. It goes towards me, just a nice cool blonde towards the ends. We're actually just at the last part of the haircut, which we're just at that top. And what we'll probably do, I'm going to wrap dry this after this.
Ashley says that pivot parting is sexy.
All right, Ashley. This is Ashley Scott? Or is this Ashley?
Ashley Newport.
Ashley Newport. Thank you, Ashley. So no hair to cut right there, coming to the end. Going up, yep, just a little bit. Marissa would be happy to know I'm being gentle with the, not taking too much off. Just more of a dusting towards the back. Last section.
Cristiano says, good job, big hi from New York.
Yeah, my heart goes out for my friends in New York City right now. I've been reading a lot of articles and just want to send a lot of love out to them. So they're getting hit really hard right now.
Annie says, do you think there's some hair color that does not match with some haircut?
I think that I can't say a definitive yes on that because it has a lot to do with the personality of the person that it's on. Does that make sense? So for me, sometimes I will do things that actually don't make sense because it makes sense on the person. So that's really where you're cutting towards the personality of the hair, the stylist that, or the client that's in your chair. And some of them are kind of spunky and they're not so typical. So sometimes you can break the rules. So I can't say a definitive yes on that.
You got a shout out from Peru and Palestine.
Wow, all right. All right, continue to use that pivot, keeping the hair nice and groomed away, keeping half of that last section. So all your sections on the top here should look like go from this angle, a triangle. So it comes to a point and it kind of goes a little bit wider. So you always have a nice clear guide, going directly off the head shape.
Kelly wants to know, are you blending into sides?
This is a type of thing with this technique. I will probably a little bit, just because the angles, it's going to be really close, but you don't have to. I could have actually cut the sides quite short and left it disconnected, but with this haircut, it's almost going to connect anyways, so I'll probably just make sure it's blended. Good question. So I think what we'll probably do here is, I'm going to finish up this section. And what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of a wrap dry, kind of iron it out a little bit, and we'll come back live for maybe just a little bit of finish cutting and a little bit of styling. How does that sound? All right, last section, that was just my water bottle. Going off that pivot point, going directly off the head shape, and just dusting those ends, just like so. Yeah. All right, guys, so we're gonna take probably a little bit of a break. I'm going to wait to cut her fringe because that's gonna be super fun. I'm gonna do a wrap dry. And then when you guys come back, I'll refine the edges and I'm going to refine the bangs and I'm just going to smooth it out and just make it all polished. So, all right, I'll see you guys in about 15 minutes.
Adam says, can you drop a couple finished photos in the comments when you're all done?
Yes, absolutely.